So good morning, I have my notes, and welcome to Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance's Common Point Nonprofit Center. We're glad you're here. Ugh. Okay, 'cause now I can see myself. It's a surprise. Anyway, and I don't get to, usually with Zoom, I can read my notes and look like I'm looking at you. So we're winging this here. We're glad you're here, including those of you who are zooming in. This is the first hybrid program hosted in this facility. So we hope you stay with us when we come across bumps. We certainly will. I'm certain this program will be worth it. A couple of house cleaning announcements for those of you who are here in person on Zoom. You probably know where your restrooms are, but they're down the hall on the left side, and then right across from there is a kitchen which has coffee and water and some pastries. So you're welcome to help yourself. I have a couple of TVNPA announcements, and this is Common Point. Our goal is to become this vibrant nonprofit center with a lot of activity going on. Currently, we are building this as a co-working space for nonprofit organizations. We have offices, cubicles, shared working space, and virtual membership available for very affordable and all-inclusive pricing. Seeing if you're interested in learning more. We're also raising funds for this building, and for every $2 raised, $1 will be matched by a chef. That's Maria right over there, and we're part of their spring gift. And these funds will enable us to keep the cost as low as possible and provide great benefits to the nonprofits who are part of this. We see this as a vibrant center with nonprofits working alongside each other, supporting each other, learning from each other, and hopefully creating future collaborations. Board meetings and programs can be held in this conference room. And for our art organization members, we're interested in showing the art on our walls. So reach out if this is of interest to you. With regard to the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Fund, our grant application is currently open through May 31. Nonprofits serving the Tri-Valley can apply. These funds are raised through matching funds from generous donors and our partnership with Chef, and then going to the community to raise funds. Right now, if you donate to the fund, your gift will be matched by 150%. So tonight, we are hosting a fundraiser, Peach Mill Winery, and all the proceeds from that will be going to the fund. The tastings are just $15 a person. We'll have food and a great raffle, and you can win Giants tickets. That's one of the prizes. And it also will take place on a heated patio. So we hope to see you there. And I think, a quick announcement about our June 9th program. We're planning on another hybrid program, and our speaker is DVT Sal. She's a longtime successful and experienced fundraiser who will be continuing our conversation on raising funds in a post-pandemic world. She has, it's just thrown a wrench into everything, and we're all trying to figure out our new way forward. Dee Dee's just written an ebook, and all attendees will receive a free copy before it goes to Amazon. So mark your calendars and join us. Don't forget to utilize our website for posting as well, for posting jobs and volunteer opportunities. And then now we're ready for today. So now for today, we have a wonderful program lined up. I believe you're all familiar with Candid and Guidestar. Candid has created special programs for nonprofits with budgets under $1 million. It used to be 500,000, but now they've extended it to $1 million, who are at the gold or platinum status to receive 1 year free of their basic program. This is a really great opportunity. And our goal is to make sure all of you reach that level. So you'll be able to use the Foundation Center program, but you'll also look great to any potential donors checking out the Guidestar profile. And I'll tell you, when we did our grant program first round, the first thing one of our reviewers did was went to Guidestar and looked everybody up. So it's important to have a good profile there. Lori from Candid, she will zoom in a little bit later this morning and give you more details on that. Now, I reached out to both of our speakers today, knowing that they're both experienced and respected fundraisers and have platinum Guidestar profiles. Will Anzenberger is the development manager at the Valley Humane Society with more than 10 years of experience in nonprofit fundraising. He's a certified fundraising executive, as well as a licensed attorney in California. Denise Bridges oversees donor relations for Open Heart Kitchen and has more than 15 years of experience in fundraising, marketing, and event planning with organizations such as the Banquet Theater and Silicon Valley Community Foundation. We're grateful to have them here with us this morning, and I'm now going to turn it over to them to get started.
Thank you, Kathy.
Having trouble sharing the screen.
All right, so we wanted to make this as interactive as possible, but we wanted to also touch on a few of the other ratings websites that you could also take advantage of while you're collecting all of this information. So Guidestar is the main one that we'll be going through today, but we'll also cover Charity Navigator and Great Nonprofits in the beginning. We'll go right into it. Charity Navigator is seen as a registration website where you can get a score. It used to be a star rating, and now it's 100 points. And they have a new Encompass rating system that's based on 4 beacons. Those sections are called finance and accountability, impact and results, leadership and adaptability, and culture and community. For Open Heart Kitchen, I've filled out only the first 2 sections, so it is very in-depth. The score is based on filling out all of the questions in those 4 sections, and then a score of 75 or higher is where you want to be. It demonstrates financial efficiency and transparency, and they also have, they call it Giving Basket, which is their donation portal through Charity Navigator. And there are limitations to be rated on their site. You need 1 million in revenue for 2 consecutive years. You need to have existed for at least 7 years with corresponding 4990s, and at least 500,000 in public support received. So 40% of your total revenue has to be at least 500,000. So at certain asset size, you may not even be on Charity Navigator.
And that's like the big one.
That
right?
is a
That's
big
like the big.
Oh, excuse me, Will, can you actually just hide the Zoom video thing? on the
Sure, what's the best way to do that?
website? Just try that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, hopefully you can just somehow there. So you can see it.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then Great Nonprofits is another rating system that I think of as the Yelp of all of these. It's based on reviews. So from their site, they say that 72% of people say that the presence of a badge increases the likelihood of giving, and 80% of donors trust nonprofits that have reviews. So the benefits to using Great Nonprofits is that it has a free, easy to use platform to share and collect reviews. You can use that badge anywhere in your marketing, communications, donor letters, annual report, your social media accounts, and your website. And then they also have a listing for their top leaderboard and a Giving Tuesday guide. Your loyal supporters can share stories on their reviews, and they also have a function to do crowdfunding, which is their form of Great Nonprofits fundraisers. So it's another donation mechanism. So peer reviews really matter on Great Nonprofits. I would suggest using your donors, board members, and volunteers to really push to them that they can review your organization on Great Nonprofits. Next slide.
Can I ask you a question? What happens if there's a negative review that you disagree with? Is there a way to sort of correct it, or do you just sort of live with it on that website?
You do have to live with it.
Okay.
So if you do get a negative review, I believe there is a way to respond and show your comment. Honestly, Open Heart Kitchen hasn't had a bad review, so I haven't had that experience. I'm sorry, but there is a way to respond to that, I believe.
Great, thank you.
So the how, you can claim your nonprofit profile. It's really easy to do with your email address from your organization, and then start inviting your board members, volunteers, and donors, and clients even, to share their story. And they give templates for that. So you can use what they have. They'll walk you through that whole process. And then you have to get 10 positive stories between January 1st and October 31st. And to stay listed on their site, you have to maintain an average of 3.5 stars.
So if you don't maintain that average, you're not a great nonprofit, so they won't put you on that, right? So
Right.
you fall off of it.
Yes,
They don't say, these are the booted ones.
no,
Okay.
you just won't make it onto their listings.
And so today we're going to try to be as interactive as we possibly can and help people get their gold seal of transparency for this year. Guidestar's purpose is to list information on every nonprofit that's registered with the IRS, as well as other data pretty much that you supply on your nonprofit. So again, Guidestar gathers data from the IRS, from the nonprofits themselves, and also other partners that they have, like the foundation director. There are 4 levels of transparency that you can get a seal for. Today, we're going to try to get you through the gold seal. Platinum is not unobtainable by any stretch of the imagination. It just takes a little bit more thought, probably a little bit more interaction with your board because of the data that they're collecting. Again, same reason that you're signing up for Charity Navigator is that having that seal provides a level of trust for donors. It's also a great way to tell your story in a different sort of format than you would maybe your own website or a newsletter. So that's it's another way of reaching a different type of audience that might be more attuned to looking at financials. You can also showcase your wins in your programs. I mean, again, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a story out there of the impact we're having on our community. And if you talk about your programs, you're also going to talk about your programs in a way that you're setting it up for the metrics you use to evaluate the impact. So again, that's another great way to sort of tell the story in a different narrative that might not work as well on your own website. It's just going to be organized in a different way. And again, we'll talk about it later, what it means, but you're going to have very measurable goals and metrics for your programs on this site. This is, again, something that people are going to tune to. And, I'll just give a quick example. If part of what we do is an adoptions program, obviously it's pretty easy for it to set a metric of how many animals did we adopt? How many animals did we take in during the year that eventually get adopted? So there are different ways to do the measurement, but you're going to want to sort of put your narrative in a way that obviously makes sense when you get to the gold level and you're reporting on your organization's metrics. Does anybody have any questions right now? Okay. So as we put out in the initial email about this meeting, what we're hoping people did prior to this meeting is if they already didn't have their sort of account set up for their nonprofit is to go in and create an account. If you create an account and you haven't done so yet, but you're going to do it after this meeting, try to use your work email because that quickens the process of approval, that you will be the person that can update your profile. So if you use like a Gmail account, it might take a day or two, whereas if you use valleyhumane.org, that approval comes usually by the end of the business day. So you can start right in on updating the profile. Again, we're going to try to get through a gold seal today. Again, a lot of this information should be readily available to you and your organization. Somebody should have a 990. Somebody should have be able to who's your executive director, who's your fundraising contact. If you don't know, you should also look up what's known as your EIN, which is your employer identification number, basically your federal tax ID. That's something that gets asked more often than not when it comes to donations. People want to make sure for plain gifts is especially important. If you have a common name, Valley Humane, well, there's about 27 Valley Humane societies in the United States. They might have something in front of Valley Humane, Arc Valley Humane, Cedar Valley Humane. But for us, that's why we ask people to take note of our employer identification number, as well as our full legal name. And that's part of why Guidestar is important, because it's going to list your full legal name. So for us, it's Valley Humane Society, Inc. We do DBA as Valley Humane Society, but if somebody were to try to look us up, they'd want to have our full legal name. And again, it's about building trust with your donors and your potential donors. So making sure you have your full legal name is a great thing to sort of start to build that trust. So today I'm going to switch over to this menu. So how many people did already have or do have an account with Guidestar? Okay, great. And how many people are going to try to set one up in the next week? Great, even better. So here is what when I sign in, the things that will ask me is it's already got all our profile for the platinum, but I can go into each level and we'll kind of move over to a web browser to sort of see this a little bit better and be able to click on the links. But you can see that we already have achieved the platinum level. It tells us the areas that we've already completed. It also tells you what areas are optional, but they're good to have. So it's not going to hinder you if you don't complete those sections as far as obtaining the seal, but people may come back and ask you some of those questions. Again, what are your practices? Again, what's your market segmentation? Target population, geographic areas. Those are things that are going to get asked of you. So let me see if I can not screw this up and switch over to a new screen. It's not. Let's see if I can get this over. Sorry about that. Okay, so again, if you haven't registered your account yet, you can just go ahead and create this account. It's pretty simple. Again, ask for your email, a password, confirm password, and then just your name and title, the organization's name, its type, which hopefully is a 501c3. And then just, again, it will ask you for the employment identification number. And to hasten the process, if you do have a work email, use your work email as opposed to a personal email.
So can we give people a minute to go ahead and enter?
Sure, please do.
They are either online or in person. Is anybody trying to do that right now? Here in person. So we want an online too, we can see it.
Sure.
Someone is doing that. When they finish, can you say, done? That way we know how long.
And if you're already created a profile, just log in to your Guidestar account.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, then you're okay.
Okay.
Let's project.
Okay, so I'm gonna move ahead right now. So assuming you've logged in, you'll see, it'll say hi and your name. What you want to click on is the update your nonprofit profile. And here it tells me as sort of the account holder that I have one organization that I can manage and update the information. Tells me the current status, which is we're a 2022 Platinum Transparency Seal recipient. The first question you sort of get asked is, well, when should you do it? And it's like, we try to do ours at the very beginning of February. So when we have all that data from our program, so we have the metrics, when we also have any change of board members, we can update that type of information. Usually you're getting a transparency seal for a year based on the previous year's financials. Let me say that again. So you get a 2022 seal based on information that you're supplying for 2021 as far as your programs. Most people will not even be close to gathering all the information out for their 990. So you won't be providing your 990. You'll actually be providing your 2020 990 for your 2022 seal. You can update it, and that's what we do is when we finally complete our 990 and submit it, we update it and update that section of our Guidestar profile. But in order to get the seal, they're okay with you going back an additional year to submit that information. And so for us, it's really important. We think it builds an extra layer of trust that we can complete our 2022 seal within the first 2 months of the year, of that year. So I think that's something you should strive for. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. There's no way I can complete it in January of 2021 because I'm busy putting together end of year or annual giving statements to donors. So I'm knee deep in some other process, and I'm a one-person shop, like probably many of you are in terms of your development staff. So you just kind of do it when you can, but try to have something in your head that says, in February I can do it. I can budget some time. Not everybody can, but I would definitely try to get it done in the first quarter of the new year, so you can get that seal up. Okay, can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Try to make it a little bigger there. So the bronze level, if you're logged in, it's very, very simple. You're just going to sit there and say, here's the name that's registered with the IRS. And when you create that account and you get the access to update that information, it's already sort of populated these fields. So you don't need to go back and search. If you want to put organization name and it's slightly different, that's fine. The key is making sure that EIN, the employer identification number, is the one that you actually use, because again, that's going to tie you to donations. It's going to tie you to bequests, and it's just another way that people can build a level of trust with your organization. Here's another area where you can do AKAs or doing business as DBAs. You're going to want to put your mailing address here. Some people have said it's, really to put the physical address. PO boxes sometimes might be a little bit wonky, but if that's all you have is a PO box, that's all you have. And again, if you want it to match what's on your tax form, because people can look up your 990 and see, and it will say an address. And if it doesn't match, again, it can build a little bit of doubt within the end user there.
And it should be the address where you want to receive donations as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, no, I was just saying, if you have a PO box, some post offices, you have to apply for it, but you can request to use their street address.
Okay.
Which works around that PO, so you end up with a unit number as your PO box.
Yep.
But it's the street address of the post office.
That is great
It allows you to
information.
work around that.
Did everybody hear that? So if you do have a PO box, you can go to the post office and request sort of a workaround.
Yeah.
And it will give you a unit number and the street address of the post office. And you'll sort of, again, build that trust. The thing I always worry about is just making sure that whatever's on your 990 is sort of, because that's a way that people will check. And just, I would make sure that those two are line up somewhere, because you can add other addresses. We have additional addresses. You check this box and you can add those.
Question in the back.
What page are you on there?
Have you started a profile before?
Yes.
Okay. So what I did was I was when I logged in, I went to update my profile. update nonprofit profile here.
Well, that's what I thought I did, and I want to page the heading that says validate the connection.
Okay, what you need to do there is you're not sort of aligned with an organization yet. So you need to have that sort of confirmed. You should have received like when you first signed in or created an account, you should have put that organization, and they'll basically, those classic validate this email address, and you click on that button and it will validate you for that organization.
And
I thought I
Don,
did that.
are you logged in? Because when I first, it
Yeah.
makes it look
I
like I'm
logged
logged
in
in.
and it saw me as Kids Bike Lane, and that's
Yeah.
my name
Yeah.
and so forth.
And so when you click on the update non-profile and it says confirm your email address, does it have any boxes to check to sort of send you a confirmation email?
It says, reach billions of funders through your online profile.
Denise is gonna help you out there. Yep, exactly. This is a working program.
You want to go on.
Okay. So again, I will go back to the line here. So you have contact information, which we went through, donation information. Okay, we already kind of talked about that. So here's just an easy way to sort of say, where should people send your donations to your organization? And again, there are a few, believe it or not, that some organizations that don't accept donations. I don't know any personally. I think we're all trying to live off of donations. Again, a lot of this information on this first sort of bronze thing is duplicative in the sense that you're just repeating your organization's name, the organization's employer identification number. Then you have options.
So now, go real quick, there's a hand raised on Zoom by Lori.
Okay,
Lori, do you want to ask the question?
Yes, I have a question.
sure. Great.
Do people generally use this website for donations? I mean, is this how they would access it? I know I've used it I used to work for a software company. We use this to verify validity for the nonprofits.
I'll
but
throw it out to the audience. Does anybody accept donations through Guidestar or has? Charity Navigator, I think, is the one that really you can, when you're donating through Charity Navigator. I think Guidestar is merely just sort of you're putting notice out that you do accept donations, and here's the mailing address. There's no donation link on Guidestar that I know.
I think that you can add it now.
Okay.
And if someone wanted to make a donation through Guidestar, we would take it.
Sure.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's not what we put out there for making donations.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not connected to charity, the charity organizations or anything. It's just specific Guidestar.
Recently added it. That's
Yeah,
what,
no,
that's my,
Oh, gotcha.
that it's a new function.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
There's
that's
a,
nice.
her organization has a donate button on Guidestar,
Okay.
and it is donations to Guidestar powered by Network for Good. So I
Okay.
guess it is an add-on probably.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for asking the question. Again, if you have different addresses, here's a place where you can click it and add those addresses. Here's, again, one that's pretty simple, your mission. You get 800 characters to sort of put your mission. I think that over the years, Valley Humane got theirs to 50 words. That was their, they strove to sort of pare it down. I think for years they were at 53 and realized that there were some sort of sites that would chop it off at 50. So we, through lots of grammar school, we got it down to 50 and makes sense. Yeah. And so, here they do it as characters, and you can see that we're at well below that. But again, we don't want too much variance across all these different sites. We don't want our mission to say something on one site and something on another, because if somebody checks, they're going to go, hey, why didn't they add this part? And for us, it's just merely a function of sentences or words or characters. But to the donor, it could mean, no, they're not proud of this program where they're doing. So we try to keep it, at the shortest, most cogent statement we can. This area here, I won't go into it too much. I want to keep us on time, but these subject areas are actually, you can choose them. There's sort of menu choices you have or are options. I think we've tried to go through, as you can see, we have 2 that they provided that we could click on, but then there's a whole bunch for target population that we really wanted to make sure was added, because yes, we have an adoption program, but we also have an Animals program, which is how I've come to know Denise, because we operate or have operated based on some of their distribution schedules. So we will show up with pet food for people. And we couldn't really do it in the scale we do without Open Heart Kitchen's help and sort of piggybacking off of their efforts. And again, we have humane education, which is important to a lot of people as far as potentially making donations. And we have a canine comfort program. So we also basically provide support, human animal bond support to all these definitely target populations. So we make sure we add that. They asked this, I don't know how long they've been asking this part, but we're not in the position, that's not part of our mission to be a grant maker. But I know that some of you out there probably do provide some grants. So again, make sure you check that box and provide all that information that they want. Real basic stuff again, who leads your organization? So we have our president. I just had to update this a few weeks ago because they changed the title for what was our executive director is now our president. So again, making sure you have that information as up to date as possible, so somebody's not seeing multiple job titles or anything like that. Again, just shows you're on top of things. Providing the LinkedIn profile for your president, your chief executive director. I know personally for us, we're using LinkedIn a lot more to sort of connect, especially in the corporate philanthropy world. This has helped us a great deal to sort of bridge the gap and make connections to people who might not otherwise want to receive our monthly newsletter or other correspondence. And put together a little bio. Again, this one was a little bit closer to the 1,000 characters, just so we could get in a lot of Melanie's background. And again, as you've all dealt with, having as much information about the person that's leading your organization and their background is very helpful. You never know those, what they call the strength of weak ties. It's like, okay, so this person grew up in Pleasanton or they grew up in Walnut Creek, and having that information, might trigger some positive feelings from somebody who's perusing the website. So again, write a tight.
And where did you say the LinkedIn profile should be put in there? Did you just?
It has it in right here. Do you see it on the screen? It says linked profile URL.
Okay, so I'm just looking for that. I don't have that showing up on my page,
Oh, okay.
which I find interesting. Okay.
Is this right here? You can see this menu where it expands. And
Oh, where it expands.
yeah, so if it's a plus sign, just go ahead and hit the plus sign. You'll see email address, LinkedIn profile.
So I think further up the page, there's something about your describing what space your organization works in.
Yes.
When it's like, how do you define that? Do you define it as a nonprofit, or do you define it? I think it was even farther up. I don't
Okay.
think it had options. It was big above mission statement. Where I
Okay,
was
I'm
trying to
sorry.
fill it out. Is it there?
It was almost the first thing.
Yeah, it was very
Okay,
high up.
right, right.
And there was something about describe where your how your organization work or the environment it works in. Do you describe it as a nonprofit? Do you describe it as your business part? Like, what type of words do you put in there? I always get stumped when they ask me that.
Well, I mean, again, for me, I don't put nonprofit because Guidestar is all about
Okay.
nonprofits. So I try to get closer to, less generic,
mission,
more
right?
specific. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, for us, I probably could, if I had more time, I probably could go in because we just don't do, animal sheltering. We provide humane education and all those kind of things. And I don't, again, we try to get to it at some point, but to just not have like 50 different things, we try to make it like our top 3 or 4 things so people really understand us. And if they want more information, it's kind of a tease. Want more information about our programs and services, come talk to me, come talk to Melanie. Obviously, if you want to donate, come talk to me. And so we kind of work off of that sort of thought process. Yeah.
I
So
think maybe it was there. We didn't see
Okay.
that it was optional.
so yeah, and these are actually optional. But we, again, it's not much to sort of put your top 2, top 3. They say top 5 or 10. I would tend to go with your top 5, not your top 10, because there's, I think it can sort of create too much noise for a potential donor. And certainly the target populations, we don't try to sit there and say, well, we did help one war veteran. So we actually do that. If it's not really core to us, I mean, we do help people, but we're not really targeting that segment. Like say ARFIS up in Walnut Creek, they have a program where they adopt out to people who have served in armed conflict. And so that's a great program, Canines for Warriors. And so I would hope that they would put that in because it's a pretty important program to them, but we don't do that as a program. So we won't go ahead and try to stretch the boundaries there. We'll just keep it nice and tight.
And those options pre-populate.
Yes.
So you're not having to decide
For standardizing.
what,
and working.
they have standard answers for those subject areas and the target population.
And it's, I don't want to go too far afield because I think we're kind of pushed up on time here, but one of the things you should readily realize is that on the tax forms and some federal things, there's NAITSCE. It's sort of an industrial code. And so everybody's got one. You might not know it. Obviously can't remember the full name as opposed to the acronym. Yeah.
Code.
Yep. And so that sometimes helps you with grants. So knowing that is important because again, some of these grant spaces that you're looking at are just going to sit there and say, what's your code? And it's going to be a filter.
You'll need to know that for government.
Yeah. If you don't have that code or you're not the right code, you get bounced from sort of the rest of the application. So
What is that called?
It's the NAICS code. It's the NAICS.
Yeah, it's, I've gotten burned by that one before.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's like millions, well, not millions, there's probably thousands of them.
And
So
sometimes
you
it
have to
appears on
try
your
to-
990,
Try
I
to
think,
narrow
right?
it down as much as possible.
And if you get it wrong, then they phone you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've gotten this phone.
And again, if you're the person completing this, don't stress too much about that. Go find the 990 because it's usually listed on the 990, what your code is.
Yeah, your CPA or accountant.
Yeah, so let your
will code
CPA
it for you.
do that heavy lifting. Because it's, like you said, there's thousands of these codes and it's really easy to sort of, instead of putting a 2 at the end, you put a 0 and it's like, well, it's close, but it's not the one that's on your 990. And again, you kind of want to have backups for all your information. If you state something, it should be available to be sort of discerned from another location, whether it's your 990, your website, what have you. So I'm gonna try to go now to the silver. Is everybody sort of at least comfortable with what we discussed as far as required for the bronze. It's really, if you're struggling with that, reach out to me or Denise, because this information is really pretty simple. So being able to do that in 5 minutes once you have all the information is really, really an easy accomplishment for you today. So here, go to the silver, which is basically you're describing your programs. Again, I wouldn't go, I would really stick to your core programs. If you're not doing something and it's sort of, it's only like 3% of your expenses, I'd sort of review whether or not it is mission critical, just to make sure it's sort of tying with the financials. But if it is a significant part, you should put it there. You'll see, like for us, we actually have canine comfort twice, and that's because later on, and especially during the pandemic, we shifted the way we calculated impact. It used to be sort of hours that we were on site. Well, during the pandemic, we weren't on site. We were doing a lot of virtual canine comfort therapy, if you can imagine that. So we then switched to a more sort of our target population. We visited this many children. We visited this many adults. I think we should have done it a few years ago, but the pandemic was a perfect time for us to shift, because we were sort of starting to calculate those numbers. You could see, just as you see on our Zoom call, you can see how many participants showed up, and again, for my dog and I, we do pause to read. And so the teacher would show up and then would put us in classroom, a little private classrooms. And so we were at, 50 students. And so much easier to calculate those numbers, provide the impact, share those stories. Hours served it was just a little too clunky for us as the pandemic started to hit. So you'll go through your current programs. Again, this is the part I'm going to emphasize on your description. Again, put things in terms of being able to measure it. Again, everybody has their elevator speech, or hopefully has their elevator speech about their programs and services, but sometimes you skip over because you just don't want to sound like you're regurgitating things off of your website. What is the impact of this program? And again, if you've ever done those DISC profiles on sort of personalities, there's some people that are going to love numbers, that they live for the numbers. There are going to be some people that love the narrative. The narrative is what's going to get them to donate. They don't care that you went up by 10% in your animal intake or anything like that. They're going to want to hear the story of Polly and how Polly came to your shelter, and how through donations we're able to get surgery done for that dog. There are going to be people that love that too. It's a little bit harder to measure that impact that way on Guidestar. Plenty of other ways to do it. So for Guidestar, I would stick to more, maybe probably numeric based descriptions of your programs, if possible. Sometimes it's, again, it is the individual storytelling that's the hook for your nonprofit. So I'm not saying don't do it. It's just that Guidestar is maybe not the best one. Again, population served, I hope people can see that. It says optional, but you can go in and click on population serves. And again, it's pre-populated, so you can sort of do that. Here I would probably go back in and revise it if I can. I'm assuming I did some sort of search for children, because Canine Comfort provides the program. We go to schools, we're going to libraries, so there's a lot of youth involved. So I'm not sure why we didn't put youth here, but families is definitely another one. And then if we could, we'd probably put corporate, because we do a lot of stress relief. And sometimes it's awesome. We go to Pixar, and everybody comes out, and we get to, and the people who bring their dogs get a tour of Pixar. So it's pretty cool for them. Geographic areas served. This is, the asterisk here is that it's required. Again, have we had people that have adopted? Have we made, Pixar is definitely outside of these 5 locations, but we don't put it because it's like we maybe, since the pandemic, I think we've gone once. I was actually at their front gate on Friday, March 13th of 2020, when everything got shut down. And so I'm at the gate and they're opening the gate and then they close the gate on me. So that's how the pandemic affected sort of some of these programs. So, we just made that choice that we're not going to extend our reach beyond what we do on a sort of a daily, weekly basis. We might go again twice a year to Pixar, but we're not going to put Emeryville as far as a population served for this program.
In this section, you can put up to 10 programs. So if you're an organization that has a lot of programs, you can do up to 10, but 3 to 5 is recommended. And for those descriptions about each program, stick to 1 to 2 paragraphs. So as high level as possible, as Will said, just keep it as general to make it describe your program, but not so granular that it's about an impact story. It has to be very high level but concise.
I think I violated Denise's rule about 1 to 2 paragraphs, but I definitely the last 2 sort of sentences we put there, I want it to stand out. So, rather than combine it into, so it looks like mishmash to people. And again, for population served, I definitely try to get to the heart of the matter of who we're serving for these particular programs. There are some that I wouldn't say, I don't know if discontinue is the right word, but it's like it's shifted to a point where it's like, so like our Hope Hospice support, we still provide that, but not in the same way or any differently than our Canine Comfort. So this program stays there more as a historical marker because we had metrics for it in previous years, but we definitely sort of, it falls now lower in sort of the identification of our programs.
And it will list it as you add it. So
Yep.
if you have, our main program is hot meals. So we put hot meals at the top, senior meals, and then street outreach. So put it in the order that you want people to pay attention to your programs.
Then the next area for this level is your brand. And so one of the things is, do you have a logo? Hopefully everybody has a logo. Again, as you can kind of see here, the requirements are less than 1 meg and 256 pixels by 256 pixels. Can honestly say that from when I started in fundraising, the shift to sort of these square logos, square pictures, function of like Instagram and social media. They do put here that if you know how to get out your logo into a what's known as an SVG file, that's important because again, as people expand or decrease their screen size, it's a vector, so it expands without getting too blurry. And 256 is a pretty small sort of size, so don't sweat it, but you should consider making sure your logo is also in a square format, as well as if it's a horizontal, or like TVNPA's is looks more vertical, I think. But try to have it in a square format, because more and more of groups like this, or just even when you're applying for grants, will ask for a square version of your logo. And then the last part, which is also, even though it says asterisk here, I think it's just, it's still an optional thing, because you can sit there and say, we don't have a tagline, but our tagline, and it's in our logo, says your means to a friend. Again, we put through all the social media. Again, try to make it as branded as you can, not, like Will Ann's, our Twitter account is not, twitter.com/Will Ann's, it's Valley Humane Society. And again, as we sort of look for new ways to reach our donors, we just started to accept cryptocurrency. Having like the Twitter logo, while you think it's not much, it's like, well, it is kind of the main way to sort of promote accepting cryptocurrency. So you're going to want to have those kind of things. Again, for us, adding LinkedIn was huge in terms of, we now work with our corporate sponsors, tie in with them. They get our messages if they log in, when we put a newsletter. So those are pretty important things to have. Again, if you don't have it right now, it's optional. It's not gonna stop you from getting your silver seal. It's just gonna be something that when somebody goes there, it's gonna be a one-stop shop for you to get information to your donors. Again, we have a YouTube channel, Instagram. We used to have a blog, but again, I think as staff turns over, somebody who used to love doing blogs left, and now we don't have somebody who really loves blogs, and so we just don't really provide that information, because if we do have a blog URL, but probably the last entry is like March of 2020, pre-pandemic. Again, I belong to a nonprofit. I sit on a nonprofit where we try to promote animals through photographs and storytelling. So I'm all about photos and videos. I think it's just, again, a different way to reach an audience that videos and photos resonate with them over words and numbers. So again, anytime you can sort of expand the way you storytell, do it, because it does matter. That's my little guy here. He's keen on comfort. I have totally forgot I put his picture up there. And we share like a kind of a welcome video. And again, so when people go to YouTube, they can access other videos, but we're not sort of cluttering up our message with multiple videos that don't really have value added to it. So I'm going to continue on to gold, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
What were you saying about the YouTube link? That the user doesn't see others' videos?
Yeah, we probably have like a weekly adoption photo. We probably have close to 100 photos. We're not going to put that on our Guidestar. We're just going to put like our welcome. Our welcome gets them over to YouTube, and then they can go, and we'll get all the data traffic, or all the website traffic based on that. But yeah, I just think it's a little. We kind of made the decision like, yeah, we could put 3 or 4 more, but it's, again, we want to kind of update it and then let it be for a while, let it marinate, and not have to be constantly updating.
I understood it differently. I was thinking that when they go to the YouTube site, that they're not given a list of recommended sites, because that may have nothing to do with what you're doing.
Yeah. So we just have our welcome, and then we have our different. I forget what it's called. It's been a while since I've done YouTube stuff, but we definitely have animals available for adoption, canine comfort theories, so they can go and drill down into folders within our YouTube account to learn about our programs and services. So share that. I'm just trying to think. So that's it. Any other questions? Just want to check for time here. Okay, we got about another 15 minutes to get through gold, which I think will be right on target. So this is the one that probably causes the most sort of strain on people, and I'll just dig right into it. So again, we're at Valley Humane, we're probably facing this year the first time that we are going to have to be audited and have audited financial statements. So prior to that, we haven't. Don't worry. You just look at your 990 and you'll be able to pull all the information that they want to make sure that you're a gold seal level organization. But if you have audited financial statements, yes, 2 mouse clicks and upload is pretty easy to sort of do versus kind of drilling down on your 990.
For Open Heart Kitchen, we have audited financial statements, and our fiscal year is July to June. So I actually update my Guidestar profile also before year end, so September, October, for that reason, so I can upload the most up-to-date audited financial statements. So you may want to check your Guidestar at least twice a year, in January, when you have the time, when it's slower, or February, and then September, October before the year-end holiday giving
Yeah.
season starts. And depending on your fiscal year, but that's when I check mine.
And yeah, it's a great rule of thumb. Again, sort of January, February, it's a great time to sort of make sure you get that seal so you can carry it through for 11 months, for that year. And then definitely make sure you're up to date by, I would say October 1st is sort of my rule of thumb, because that's fourth quarter. Fourth quarter is giving is everything to most nonprofits, whether it's your fiscal year or not. It's people, individual donors tax year. So that last 3 months is critical. So having something that's up to date, and again, I think one time when I was at the main screen, it tells me at least the last time I updated my profile. I don't know if that goes out to end users, but I would still, it doesn't hurt for sure to make sure by October 1st you're updated.
And I personally love going through and reading 990s from other organizations. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. If you haven't spent any time on Guidestar, you can look it up and see who the leadership is and what their revenue is and who their board members are. And you can actually look and see who a lot of who their donations came through. So if it's a similar organization to yours, you can see, who's giving to them, etc.
And I think it's becoming more common that, there's a part of a 990 that will list your high-end donors or your highest donations. And Guidestar will sort of accept like the public version, which takes those people's names off, due to privacy concerns. And I think Gavin Newsom passed something recently to sort of make sure that that was a more common thing, so people aren't drilling 990s to sort of find out,
Right.
did the Sacklers give to you or anybody like that, so
Corporations and things like that.
not that that's an issue for us, but how it goes with sort of, it's easy to sort of get caught up in some noise that it really isn't your problem, but it becomes your problem. And so I would say that probably you'll see less and less sort of your highest donations for certain nonprofits. I think everybody's just going to sort of not do that, now that it's no
Well,
longer mandated.
There's a public version.
Yeah.
And then there's the other version.
Yeah.
Details, yeah.
Use your public version.
Yeah. So again, go ahead.
There's an option on this that says either share your financials or fill out the required financial fields. I would think 990 is most people would want to see, as opposed to you just filling out what the revenue is and that's about it.
Well,
What do you suggest?
well, so maybe it's the wording, but basically you can do one of two things. You can upload your audited financial statements.
Which we likely don't have. Those are.
Yeah, you have to be of a certain size, because it's,
More
I
than
mean,
$9
it's probably
a year.
$7,500 to $10,000 to have an audited financial statement produced. So for a lot of nonprofits, not in their wheelhouse. What you will probably want to do though is, so you can enter in information from your 990 into their area. Other organizations, you can actually upload your 990 as an attachment. And that's especially helpful if you've asked for an extension. If you ask for an extension, the organization or the guide group is going to only upload certain times of the year. And so if you want to get that up as soon as possible, because they'll be like, wait a second, it's now September of 2022. I don't see their 2021 990. You're going to want to get that, as soon as you file it, upload it yourself. And it will say, organization provided on that. So it's a good thing, but this is a way of getting the seal without having the very, very, very latest financial information, because they want to be able to sort of line it up with your 990. So for us, I say, okay, the last fiscal year I have that I can cover for my 2022 seal is our 2020 information. And that they're perfectly fine with that. Don't fight them on that. Just get the information there. So
Can I clarify?
sure.
So if you don't have an audited financial statement, you'll go through these questions
Yeah.
and match it up with your most recent 990. Charity Navigator is the one you can upload your Form 990.
Yes.
So for Candid or Guidestar, they have these questions, but it will line up with answers in your Form 990.
So if it's not audited, you don't want to upload your 990.
No.
Technically not audited.
Right. It's
And
a
your
different document.
990 ends up on Guidestar anyway.
Yes, it
right?
does. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's already up there, but that's not what's gonna help you get this gold seal. So this information that he's about to go through will help you get the gold seal.
Thank you.
Yep. So on the gold seal, like for us, it's going to be a little different for Denise because when Open Heart Kitchen's fiscal year begins and ends. But for us, we're on the, sort of the calendar year. So we're going to look at our 2020 990. And again, if you only do if you only have the 990 EZ, which some of you may be in that category, the lines that they ask for, the line number might be different, but what we're going to describe, like when it says contributions or total revenue, those are going to appear on the 990 EZ as well. So don't worry about it. If you have trouble locating, again, you can email me certainly and just sit there and say, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be looking on the EZ.
So if you go down a little bit further,
Sure.
you'll see that, and it was really simple. I'm gonna have some questions when we get to, like that, I pulled right off of the easy. We have a 990 easy for previous, from 2020.
Mhm.
We're moving up to the non-easy for last year.
Yep.
But, so those were easy.
Yep.
Right? But if you go down to, I mean, it's very self-explanatory, but when you go into expenses
Sure. Okay.
here, I'm curious how many organizations here have allocated their program expenses with salaries included and stuff.
Or is
Like,
that part of administration?
well, so programs, it's tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
definitely.
allocate salaries to
Yep.
programs. And so are you guys doing that yet? Or do you not have salaries, so it's not relevant? Like if we just look at our program expenses, they're minimal. And our 990 EZ doesn't break down
Yep.
the allocation of funds. So how do you account for that on here? That's what can we just put our own numbers in?
Wow, that's a very good question. So, for me, when you kind of look at like, say, total expenses, that's going to be on the EZ. That's going to be, I forget what line it is, but it's line 18 of your 990. For, administration and fundraising and program, that usually goes to part 9 of a 990. It will actually break it up. It has 4 separate columns. It will have program, total program, administrative, fundraising. The reason that it gets broken out like that, and you should try to look to doing that as soon as you can, certainly on the fundraising side as a fundraiser. I hate to say it, but there's still some people that want to make sure that, you're not spending 50 cents to make $1. The overhead. Now, Guidestar, Charity Navigator, remember this like it was yesterday, 2012, they helped produce a letter that went on and still on in both of their websites called The Overhead Myth. And it's a reason that all these sort of levels have changed. Yes, look at overhead. Overhead shouldn't be ghastly to, what the organization is spending. But let's just say if I was at 15% and the next 5%, I actually garnered an extra $1.5 million. I made the pie bigger, aren't we all trying to make our own individual pies bigger? And sometimes you have to spend money to make money. And, and I get that there are some organizations out there where their overhead is crazy and they certainly get on these websites, it will be noted. But that's is why they have these areas. If you don't have them, again, don't worry, they're gonna look at your 990, they're gonna make sure these numbers match. If the number for administration is not, on a 990 EZ, they're not gonna be worried about it. But for me, Valley Humane's 990 has that part 9, which breaks out the expenses, functional, administrative, programmatic, and fundraising. And again, what they do is they take that, again, the ratios. I think Charity Navigator is the one that really does the ratios more than Guidestar. Charity Navigator will sit there and say, okay, that 147 over whatever the total was, the 1.185, what's that percentage? And if it's over a certain amount, they still will probably go, well, that doesn't get you a 10 out of 10. That gets you a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. So they do, some of these sites do look at these ratios. Guidestar doesn't really do it. They just put it out there. I think they've been a little bit more true to that, don't look at or don't buy into the overhead myth. Look at impact.
The concern I have there is that people looking at it might buy into that. Like, so if I'm pulling it off of what our 990 says,
Sure.
right, it's not taken into, it doesn't ask to take into account the allocation.
Yeah.
And so it would look like we spent a small percent on programs when a lot of our programs is actually, people running programs.
Sure.
So that's where I'm curious how that will shake out.
Well, unfortunately, Guidestar is sort of just what you put in is what you get out. So it's just really, it's numbers based, people making value judgments on it. That part I was glad to see when they put the overhead myth in, because again, if any of you recognize the name Dan Pallotta,
I love Dan.
did a TED talk in 2012. Within 6 months, that overhead myth letter is published on Giving Tuesday, I believe, of 2012, for everybody to sort of recognize, yes, you can look at overhead, but let's make sure you recognize that if somebody spent a little extra in marketing or fundraising and they brought in 20 million more dollars, what that means to the programs and services. So again, yes, but I can see that if you're just looking at this number and somebody just goes,
Right.
273 over 118, that's pretty high. And again, from 2020, that was my first full year here. We put a lot of money into our gala, and so that was part of the increase in fundraising expenses for us.
I'm glad you brought it up, because as a banker, we do look at the overhead and consider when going out to donate to certain charities, it's like, okay, it's 10% of their revenue towards administration, and if it is more than that, it's like, are they really managing it that well? So I'm glad you brought that up,
Yeah,
because it is a topic that people don't even think about.
and in full transparency, that was my first full year, so I'm part of that 273. I'm not going to tell you how much I am of that 273, but it's like, but we wanted to be at a different level. We're about to open a veterinary surgery center this year, so that's going to be a big expansion of the program. So we wanted to deal with things like capacity building and other areas like that. So that's where the expenses come up.
And that, I haven't seen it yet, but if there's a place to be able to elaborate that, and also newer organizations when you're building, the goal is, in the ideal world, you'd have 80% of your expenses would be program, and the rest would be divided up between fundraising and administration and non-program stuff, right? But it depends on where you are in your organization. And so startups, oftentimes you have a lot more expenses, less programs, or when you're getting ready to start doing some capacity building, you're going to have more fundraising. So it would be nice if there was a place to be able to.
I think in the platinum level, there's an area for notes, and I would encourage people. That's another reason to get your platinum level designation, because I think you'll be able to put a little bit more narrative if you have different types of expenses that are typical for again, the revenue level you're at right now. So, that would be my suggestion, but there isn't something like right below this that says, hey, do you care to explain
It would
why
be nice
your
if it
ratios?
was.
Yeah.
A
Oh, go ahead.
question on the fields above.
Okay,
When you're
sorry.
talking about the funding and splitting it out, they have programs and then they have total expenses if you go up just a little bit.
Yep.
And then administration, is that total expenses sort of the addition of all the other squares?
Yes, yes. So you should be at, if you totaled like your program, your administration, your fundraising, and I think there might be another column, it should get you to that 118.
Okay, it's just the weird. order.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a me thing, like when I was entering them in or it displayed, but I thought I think that Guidestar did that because they want to see, like, again, your program, your expenses should really be going to your program, and then you can see the ratio of your program to total.
But if you're putting it in and you have to go to your budget or your spreadsheets, your financial spreadsheets to break it out.
Yes.
That would be the total of it.
If you're doing a 990 EZ and you want, this will be what is it, part 9
Right.
of the 990, and then you'll see it's a grid, and it's got 4 column headings, and it's these column headings.
Got it.
So it's really easy to get to that, get those numbers.
So we only have like 5 minutes left.
Okay. So again, this will be on your 990, your organization's assets and liabilities. The net assets is just basically, subtracting total assets from total liabilities. So again, shouldn't be very hard. Then it asks some key people, put your board chair, put your board members. Again, I will line that up. I mean, I will update that as need be. But usually, again, January and February is a great time because people have just rolled off your board.
So that doesn't have to match your 990.
It doesn't. This is more current. This is more current. Yeah, if people are checking now, as usually it goes, is probably 2/3 is accurate and the third isn't, because people probably have 3-year terms and they're rolling off each year in equal numbers. So that will be the only thing. And again, about 12 years, I have never had anybody ask like, hey, why is this board member no longer on it when it's on your 990? I just go back and explain it's going back a year. We didn't add staff members. Again, sort of the tease is like, let's people go to the website and find out who the key staff members are, and we'll have little bios. We'll have more space to do that. We already talked about, sort of Melanie for Valley Humane. She's got her bio in this already. To me, it's like if somebody's looking at this, they've got the 2 people in terms of fundraising that they can go to. If they have issues about programs and services, that's a Melanie thing. So that's how we do it there. Again, I know we're running short on time. I think timing isn't that bad.
No, we're doing great.
Go ahead.
For the diversity.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Go to the gold.
Yep.
It does ask you for your leaders' demographics and your board makeup, and that's all optional. So it asks for race and ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, and disability status. And some of those may be very sensitive for you to ask about your board members, if they want to self-identify. But they do have a very nice guide for how to collect that data,
Sure.
Which you can download and see if that's a good fit for your organization. But you could also mark decline estate, and that won't affect your seal at all. It's just up to you how much information you want to put out there and how much work you want to do to collect that information from your board and staff. So it is a little bit of a self-reflection around, what do you want to put out onto your profile. So all of that is up to you.
So for example, for Valley Humane, we did sort of race and ethnicity identification for our president, for our board chair. For the board, we said decline. And we didn't add any staff, so we weren't getting into that at all. But yeah, they do have some good information on how to collect it if you want to collect it. So again, I would go in there and download that sheet. And then again, for me, it's really a Melanie and the board type decision in terms of doing it. So I'll do whatever they tell me to do on that when it comes to identification. But it's definitely a conversation to have. You know.
Question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, did I know?
I think you just raised his hand.
Okay.
We can just-
Am I live or am I still on mute?
Nope, you're
We can hear
live.
you.
Okay, hi Denise, hi Will. This is Brian Balaz, the chair of the board of directors for the Shakespeare and Performing Arts Regional Company. Just a question on what you just said, Denise. So I tried to upgrade from gold to platinum and it went back and all the diversity questions did not seem to be optional. I had to go through the entire set and try and answer them. Am I doing something wrong? And I'm happy to take this offline if you think it would be a good question, because I don't want to hold you up while we're nearing the end here. But I was stuck in getting from gold to platinum. And when I went to go publish, it said, we're going to move you back to bronze based on your responses, which obviously is not what I want to do. So,
No.
right. So I really got things tangled up with the diversity questions and it didn't seem optional. And it wouldn't let me proceed without answering them.
There should be an option that says decline a state on there for any of the people that you've entered in. So I'm happy to talk with you offline or go to a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, let's do that if we could, because I don't want to hold you up here and it's kind of a complicated question, but thank you. I'd appreciate that with either you or both of you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Can we take a minute here? I know we have Lori from Candid.
Okay.
Lori, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Good morning, everyone.
1 second, Lori. I'm going to have you spotlighted so that we can
Okay.
hear your face when you talk.
All right. You know when you're ready. Okay.
There you are. Oh,
Yes. Good morning, everyone. As Carol, should I just go on?
for 1 second, we're going to shop.
Okay. All right.
Thought I did. Sorry.
1 second.
You could just click that on
Yeah,
the,
just click,
the
make
bottom
that.
right,
full
there you
size.
go.
There we go. Okay, all right, we're ready to have you.
Sorry about that. You know.
That's all right. Okay. Ready to go. Good morning.
Goodness.
Just click on Lori.
Okay.
There we go.
Just leave it like that, yeah.
Yep. Sorry about that. You're good to go, Laura.
I'm good to go. Okay, all right. Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Lori Guidry, and I'm with Candid. And I tuned in a little early. I was happy to hear the discussion and everything that was going on. And, you know, you really nailed it about, you know, the information about Candid and the overhead myth. And I think Lyle was answering the question about, you know, the platinum. And that really is the point of, you know, going all the way to the platinum to tell them, you know, don't just look at these numbers here in the financial category. Look at what we're doing and the impact that we're making. So that was right on key. So I'm just going to show you a couple of slides here. I can't share screen.
Give me 1 second, I will make you.
Okay.
We'll post right now.
Get out of my way.
Go.
All right. Yeah, just have a couple of things I wanted to share. And just to kind of give you an idea of what Candid is, and we're sort of the what's behind Guidestar. About 3 years ago, let me start from this slide. About 3 years ago, Foundation Center, which puts out Foundation Directory online, and Guidestar, of course, merged and became Candid. So we're actually moving more and more toward being one Candid. The hope is that someday, you know, Guidestar and Foundation Directory might be integrated. But Candid, we are a nonprofit, and basically our mission is to help other nonprofits. So we do that through doing tons of research, through collaboration with partners like the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Association, which recently joined with Las Positas and another organization to be part of our funding information network. And what that is about 400 locations around the country where you can access Foundation Directory online for free, because it is a subscription product, but to make it more widely available, we have been making it accessible through, libraries, community colleges like Las Positas, and Las Positas works with Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance. So those are good places to find out how to access that. Main thing I wanted to mention today was what we call our Go for Gold promotion that's going on right now. So if for any smaller nonprofits, and by small, we mean under $1 million in revenue, if you earn your gold seal this year, you will also get a 1-year free subscription to Foundation Directory Online Essential. So that's a promotion we're going to be running for the remainder of the year. So if you fall into that category, and if you have not yet got your gold seal, this is a really good time to get it. So I wanted to point that out. I also I'm going to run through the rest of these a little quicker. And I don't know if you covered this, but I just wanted to reiterate the importance of the seals, because there has been research to show that nonprofits that get their seal have actually earned 53% more in their fundraising efforts than those that haven't gotten it. So I'm happy to see that you're doing this program, and I would encourage all of you to get, a minimal seal, but especially at the gold level and above. You can not only get the free, Foundation Directory subscription, but it also, as I said, is a way to, boost your fundraising capacity. And as I said, this was a third-party study that found this. So I wanted to reiterate that in case that hadn't come up. And also, I didn't want to take up too much more time, but if there are any questions, I know you're nearing the end of this, but if anyone had any other questions about Candid or about Foundation Directory, I'm happy to answer them now before you all wrap this up.
I have one, it's a free subscription, but after that year, how much is it? To
Can
maintain it.
you talk about how much that subscription is if you have to pay for it, the one that's?
Yes, if you would have to pay for it, Foundation Directory Essential is about, well, it depends on if you're subscribing for a year or you're going month to month. Let's say if you subscribe for a year, which would be the cheaper option, it would be roughly, I believe, $50 to $60 per month. So you times 12, that's what, about $300 or so?
600, yeah.
600, okay, I'm bad at math.
Could you go back to that chart and show when you flashed through it really quickly about what the foundation, that one chart about, I wanted to get the link there. Thank you.
Oh, this one, okay. Right.
Well, there was the thing underneath there is missing. I didn't, yeah, there you go.
The Go for Gold at candid.org, yeah.
I wanted to see that page. Thank you.
Yeah, and I also, one of the reasons we're doing this promotion for gold, because I heard the talk about, collecting the DEI information and stuff. And, as you said, it is sensitive. It's not easy to gather that, but it's something funders are looking at a lot, in addition to when they're looking at your numbers and your impact. As a matter of fact, the California League of Community Foundations recently announced that they are requiring grantees to have at least a gold seal before they would consider them for grants. So it is something, as I said, that takes a little more time and effort to work for, but it could really be worthwhile just getting your gold seal. I wanted to put that plug in there because it is something that funders are looking at.
Thank you, Lori. Anybody else? All right, well.
Other questions? Okay.
We appreciate you showing up and validating this program.
Yes, I am very happy to see that. And you've mentioned this before, but there is a lot of good information on Guidestar, and I'm going to put in, especially if you just start with helpguidestar.org. There are all kinds of things. We also have online chat and online librarians that would, if you want to ask a person a question, that's available. Whenever you go to any of our sites, you'll see that in the lower right-hand corner, that there's a chat button there. So.
Well, thank you so very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay, all right. Bye, everyone.
All right.
Okay. Do we have like 2 minutes left? Do we have
Can we go to platinum information real
Sure.
quick?
We'll just do a quick overview of what that looks like.
Yes. So for the platinum seal, it will be where you want to share your organization's strategic plan and your metrics. So this may be the other place to talk about what your overhead is going toward. But for us, we uploaded our strategic plan. And if you don't have one, there are questions to fill out. There's 2 questions mainly. What is your organization aiming to accomplish? And what are your strategies to make this happen? And you can fill in up to 20 metrics. They recommend 3 to 5 as a good start. You want to make them SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. And then there is another section that's called Sustainable Development Goals, and these are tied to the United Nations goals for ending global poverty. For us, it was really easy, and hunger. So you'll find there's about 17 or 20 categories for that, and you can line up your mission with one of those Sustainable Development Goals. And then filling in the metrics, it's also filled in for you what you want to put in there. For us, we measure how many meals we serve, volunteer hours, number of volunteers, number of bag lunches when we had our children's program. So it's custom, but also you could look at metrics for your field of interest, what your organization is working toward. So there's a ton of information under the platinum level, but for my quick nutshell summary, that's what you'll need to know. You could delve into this a lot more and keep coming back to update it. So it's always a work in progress.
That second step about organization strategies, that's where I would sort of talk about if your expense, if there's anything that needs explanation about certain fundraising ratios or other expense ratios to overall expenses, I would include it there.
There's a question in chat, and
Okay.
they're wondering if there's any contact information you'd be willing to provide for follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you want to enter your info in the chat?
In the
That
chat,
might be
sure.
an easy way.
Yes.
Denise, I'm gonna give you the keyboard for you.
While Will is doing that, in conclusion, once you have your seals, just plaster it everywhere you can. We have ours in our annual report on our website at the bottom. If you scroll down, go to openheartkitchen.org, you'll see all 3 seals. So it's a great way to show off all this work that you've been putting into in your profiles, but also validate what you've earned. And then I've also printed off the certificate and framed it and showed it in our offices, because it's also a good way to recognize your program staff for all the hard work they do every day. So use it where you can and show that off.
And just to add, because I think Open Heart Kitchen does a great thing, is their seals are in what I would call the website's footer. So when you go to any page, it's showing up, right? On every page. So I think that's a great thing. Don't bury it on just, your donate page or your home page. Have it appear because
Follow you everywhere you go.
yes, because again, people are coming in as a potential donor or supporter in so many different ways. Why shouldn't they see those seals at the bottom of, again, your hot meals or our canine comfort? Why should that be like sort of, in a different section of the website? So I would say the more places, the better.
Yeah. That's what theirs looks like.
Yep.
It's impressive. You can see they're legit. That's what that tells you is they're a legitimate nonprofit.
I put in my email signature too.
Yeah, well, so help me please thank Denise and Will. And we just have this small little Denise.
Oh, yes.
Let's see.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you.
Yep.
And stick around everybody for a few minutes and chat. but we'll go
Sure,
right
sure.
into
If people have any questions, again, we put our email addresses in the chat. Happy to help people get to that level. I don't see it as a competitive thing at all. I think the stronger Tri-Valley is a, you know, sort of nonprofit haven. It helps us all out. So happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.